Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and today I'm going to talk about the 86th Academy Awards. I've watched a lot of award shows in this awards season, and watching the Oscars in comparison to other award shows is that the Oscars feel a lot more like a coronation of things that we already knew were going to happen than like kind of more of a spontaneous award show the way the Golden Globes are or other lesser award shows are. And I think that makes it a little boring because it would be fun if there was kind of a spontaneous thing that would happen, even if it was something I didn't like. I'd much rather get a lot of my Oscar predictions wrong and have a really fun ceremony to watch than be completely right, which I often am. I haven't really seen a year that's highly competitive where I'm totally shocked by what's going on and it's a crazy year and a lot of the films that I thought were going to win at one point are no longer going to win. That doesn't really happen, and I think this award show certainly showed me that. I think it was kind of a mixed bag because you had this whole heroes montage thing, the heroes theme of the night, which didn't really seem to fit with any of the films that were nominated. I kind of wish they do something like the Grammys often do, where, if a certain group who isn't normally nominated is nominated, they'll do a salute to, dance music if it's Daft Punk or like funk music. I think one time they did with Outkast. And maybe, a tribute to outer space films or like 2001 or something that's related somehow to some of these movies. Or with 12 Years a Slave, you could do prestige pictures. I don't think you could really do American Hustle because it's very influenced by Goodfellas, and I'm sure it doesn't really want you to do that, so maybe it wouldn't work so well with that. Really, I don't think you need to do these montage things and these themes. That's one thing all these other award shows don't have, and it feels like you give out more awards a lot quicker in these lesser award shows. They seem to be a lot better with flow than the Oscars are. The Oscars always feels very slow and monotonous and boring, and it goes on forever. And it was like almost 11 o'clock and they hadn't given away any real major categories. I wish they kind of got rid of that and were more concerned with the actual awards. Maybe like a montage of the film year of 2013. I think that would help. There's always like a cool montage on YouTube at the end of every year of, all these clips of all these movies that came out that year. And I would love an extended clip of all the films, and maybe like don't even focus on the Oscar nominated films. Like they can be separate because you are supposedly celebrating that year in film, even though you're only celebrating a select group of movies really. And I think that would be kind of a lot more fun and like have the ceremony focused on something rather than just kind of focused on very broad ideas that don't really make any sense. I mean, heroes, I guess, Captain Phillips was a hero, kind of. I actually liked Ellen. I don't remember liking her 7 years ago. I think it was 2007 when she hosted. I can't really come up with any examples why, or if I was just being a stick in the mud, but I did actually think her opening monologue was really good. I think the opening monologue when you're hosting is probably the most important part of hosting the Oscars, because I felt like Seth MacFarlane's opening number wasn't as strong as all like the little things he did during the ceremony. And I think like if your opening number flops, that like hurts you. Ellen's little things during the award shows weren't as good as her opening number. The selfie thing was kind of alright. I don't really like when award shows do the social media thing as strongly as they do, and it wasn't that great of a photo. I don't know, it's kind of stupid. She definitely had a stronger opening than Seth MacFarlane, and it did just kind of start, but I was fine with that. I always have a problem with that it starts at 8:30 and not 8 o'clock, so they can have all the other channels' red carpet coverage ends at 8, because the Academy has to have their like half hour of exclusive Academy red carpet coverage. Why don't we just cut that out? I really hate that. I complain about it every year. But this award show ended at about midnight. It would have been nice if like you could at least wrap it up at 11:30, but you insist on it always starting at 8:30, so it seems a lot later than we really are in the show if you had started at 8. It's just kind of like a timing problem. It is a little weird though when you watch the Oscars and you'll see a film like Gravity won the most Academy Awards with 7, and 12 Years a Slave, which won Best Picture, it's always going to be like, the Oscars happened, 12 Years a Slave won Best Picture. But then if you had actually watched the award ceremony, it felt like Gravity was the real winner. It feels like what everyone is talking about the next day in the newspaper, what people remember about the ceremony, is pretty much what you're seeing in like the last hour to 45 minutes with a few other things before that, but not too many. And that's always a little weird. You sit through this whole award show and really like the last 45 minutes is important and everything else is basically superfluous. There were some moments I really liked. When Emmanuel Lubezki won for Best Cinematography, he got a big hug from Roger Deakins. Seemed to be no ill will. They're both great DPs and they're both probably the two best DPs in the world. And it's great to know that they can just hug each other like that. McConaughey's good at giving speeches. If you've seen True Detective, I think it's interesting to think he might have won as much for Dallas Buyers Club as he did for True Detective. I think that definitely helped, and it shows a lot of where we are in what movies are now and how mainstream entertainment is now, that the guy who wins Best Actor can also be on the biggest TV show at the time. You hadn't really seen that in a while. I guess you could say Helen Hunt with As Good as It Gets, but it's really very rare. And I think it says a lot about how entertainment's changing now. Or maybe it doesn't, because Helen Hunt won for As Good as It Gets. So I'm curious if True Detective hadn't been on during, the Oscar voting time. Would he have still won? I was a little disappointed that Idina Idla Menzel, I can never pronounce her name right, unfortunately, when she did Let It Go from Frozen, I thought that was going to be a great big Academy moment and probably the best musical moment at the Oscars. But unfortunately, it seems like she was kind of fumbling the song, and she seemed a little upset about it. Maybe I'm reading into it, but it seemed like she wasn't really pleased with her performance. I really wasn't. I really wanted it to be this gigantic, big Oscar-y performance, and I think the song deserved that. I'm glad Frozen won. It's 2. I still kind of wished a little bit that The Wind Rises had won Best Animated Feature, and maybe Frozen could have won Best Song. I also like seeing Spike Jonze win for Best Screenplay. None of the winners were unexpected. Even Emmanuel Lubezki and Spike Jonze and Frozen and all the people I liked were expected to win. It's fun to see a film like Gravity, a film I really liked, and a director I like who walked away with 2 Oscars. That was great, but I wish maybe the Academy would start thinking about flow more and flow of the award show and maybe make it a little more breezier and fun. I really just wish the Oscars were just centered on the Oscars themselves, because you watch a news report and they talk about the Oscars, or you go online, you read a report about the Oscars or anything like that. It's who won them, what was the host like, and that's about it. No one's like, what were these crappy montages like? Like, they never ask about that. And I think the Oscars needs to think about what's really important for an Oscar ceremony, not, some weird mantra that they need to tell us that was completely unclear and that we're going to forget in a week. I think it was the Oscars it was, and that was an Oscars that we entirely anticipated. I think it was an alright show. It wasn't terrible, but it was kind of, just very expected. So if you watch the 86 Academy Awards and you have opinions about it and what you thought of the winners and everything like that, comment below in the comments and subscribe if you would like to. I wore a tux for this because it's the Oscars. You gotta dress up. Didn't have a tie, black tie. Thought I did, but couldn't find it. Couldn't find a tie that went with it, so maybe next year.